Hi, Philippines. This is Dan Hill, and you are listening to Star FM. It's all for you. Basta Rajo Bombo.
Good morning, Star Nation. My name is Star DJ Gabby, and this is Star FM Exclusive. Welcome to the newest episode of our radio and online show. And we are truly blessed to have with us one iconic and legendary singer-songwriter who has inspired many generations with his timeless hits like Can't We Try? Why do we always hurt the ones we love? In Your Eyes, Never Thought, and of course, the worldwide hit Sometimes When We Touch. He is an award-winning music artist who has received numerous recognition, such as the Grammy and the Juno Awards. And with his successful career spanning more than 4 decades, he is set to release new music very soon, and we certainly can't wait to hear more from him. We are truly honored to have him on board. So exclusive on Star FM, please welcome the iconic Grammy-winning Canadian singer-songwriter, Dan Hill. Hello, Dan. This is DJ Gabby, and welcome to Star FM. Hi.
Thank you. Love being welcome to Star FM, and so lovely to meet you, Gabby.
Of course, we are so excited, and I personally, I'm very thrilled and honored to do this interview. And of course, I'm sure our listeners and our viewers are happy to hear from you again. I know they're very surprised right now, and yeah, of course. Dan, I know you've been to the Philippines for a lot of times. Of course, you were here last year, but we're going to be talking about that later. Okay, so anyway, I know you're in Toronto right now. How are you doing there, and how's it been for you and your family since the whole world has faced this pandemic?
Well, thank you for asking. As you know, it's totally out of control, but I've been very, very fortunate to say that, my family and myself have managed to stay healthy. We are observing all the protocols, and being very, very safe.
Oh, okay. So that's great to hear, and we're happy to see you healthy and happy and safe with your loved ones. Okay, Dan, let's get to it. I know there's new material that's coming up, but since we consider this like a celebration of your music and your career, we are going to be having a bit of a look back on your career first. Okay, so you started out your career in the 70s, and during this time you have released songs like your first hit, which is You Make Me Want to Be, and eventually the timeless and phenomenal song Sometimes When We Touch. And the success went on for years with so many great songs. Can you share to us like your favorite memory as a singer, or what is the most memorable moment in your career?
Well, there's been so many. As a young I started performing when I was around 12, and there's always that incredible rush of having your very first song on the radio, which was, as you already mentioned, You Make Me Want to Be. It's kind of like the first love affair. You remember that the freshness and newness of the first love affair? That's the freshness and newness that you feel when you hear your song on the radio. So I have a tremendous memory of that moment, and that is one of the highlights. I think maybe Can't We Try, being a huge hit in the States, felt really, really redeeming for me, because I felt kind of like, after Sometimes When We Touch, that it had kind of almost eclipsed my career, and it felt like such a thrill to prove to the world that I could bang out another hit record.
Yeah, okay, wow. Thank you for sharing about that. And of course, as you mentioned, Can't We Try? This is such a huge song also. And it's such a beautiful song. And music really transcends time, because just imagine that the generation today still enjoys your songs. And I have to say that when I was a kid, I listened to radio all the time, and I heard your songs, and I've enjoyed these ballads so much up until now. And you're an inspiration to a lot of people with the success that you've achieved over the years. And are there still times when you still feel like you're overwhelmed and surprised that people of all ages love your songs and they consider them iconic hits worldwide? What do you feel about your songs leaving that kind of impact to the world?
I feel very, very humbled. Um, I feel extremely fortunate, and I have immense gratitude, to my my millions of fans and their loyalty, and I'm in shock. I'm shocked and deeply moved by how big the age range is of the people who have enjoyed my songs and records.
Yeah, and of course, as I mentioned a while ago, even the young generation know your songs because a lot of people who listen to radio, not only with radio, because anyone can actually access music right now with social media, with the internet. They can hear your songs, which is amazing. And of course, it's incredible because these songs will forever be in people's hearts, and it has made such a huge mark to the music industry. And I know you wrote most of your songs, and you've written songs for fellow musicians too. So, what is like the secret to your songwriting and like the secret that you wish to share to a lot of composers, artists, and musicians during this generation?
I think the most important thing is to be authentic, to be yourself, to find your voice. And by that, I don't just mean your singing voice, which of course is very important, but the particular your voice in terms of how you put together words and melodies and chords, and how you, almost like a beautiful salad, manage to toss them all together to be unique.
Yeah, okay. So you talked about authenticity, and I mean we agree, and it's very important to put your whole heart into something that you do, and your love rate will show in the songs that you write, right? Okay. So anyway, speaking of your songs, I would just like to know, out of all your iconic hits, what is your most favorite, and what has probably left such a big impact in your life?
um, a really, really good question. I'm just putting out a single called "What About Black Lives" that's getting unbelievable reaction in North America, huger than I've had for over 20 years. So I'm very, very connected to that single for obvious reasons. But I think I really have a fondness for the song "I Never Thought That I Could Love," because I wrote it about my mother, and I wrote it about her when she was in the hospital. And I took her into the piano. That there was a music room in the hospital, and I would take her into the music room, and she would sit beside me. She was very tiny on the piano bench. And one day, feeling like I didn't want to lose her, I literally wrote "I Never Thought That I Could Love" in about 20 minutes with her sitting beside me.
Wow. Okay. So thank you for sharing about that. And that's definitely a great song, and people love that so much. And also your Filipino fans. And you mentioned what about Black Lives, but we're going to be talking about that more in just a while. Okay. So anyway, speaking of your Filipino fans, you've been to the Philippines for countless times. Your first visit was in 2011, and you were here last year for a concert, for a bunch of performances. So what can you say about the Filipinos, and can you share to us an unforgettable moment that you had while touring the country?
Um, well, first of all, the people in the Philippines have tremendous warmth, openness, affection. You know, uh, I have never seen such extraordinary warmth and humanity in people as I've seen in the Philippines. Um, I think one of my most moving moments was when a father came with his 10-year-old daughter, and the 10-year-old daughter loved a very kind of personal and moving song that I'd written about my father after I'd lost him. And it just kind of blew me away that a 10-year-old girl could possibly relate to the feelings of a grown man, a grown middle-aged man, mourning the loss of his father. That, I think that could only happen in the Philippines.
Wow. Okay. So just imagine the influence that your songs have done, have given to a lot of people, even for this 10-year-old, right? Can I ask what the song was?
It's called Daddy's Song.
Daddy's song. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just imagine the impact, right, to a lot of people, even to young people, to kids, and it's just so incredible. And I know that a lot of people love you here in the Philippines. We love you here in the Philippines, and of course, I would just like to mention. I know we also met Manny Pacquiao, who is our boxing champion and now center of the country, and he did a version of your song, "Sometimes When We Touch," and he admits that he he is a fan and he loves your music. That's his favorite song. And you actually did a duet before for this song. So that was an incredible moment and probably a surreal one for Manny himself because he's with his idol. So any favorite moment with him and what can you say about him? And maybe are you willing to do another song with him in the future?
Yes, a lot of things to love about Manny. One is that he's extraordinarily humble. Has astonishing humility considering his utter greatness. Another thing that really struck me is, again, when I met him maybe 10 years ago, he had little children, and he really tenderly loved them and did not want to expose them at all to boxing, which I thought was very, very, very interesting. Uh, he also kind of has a funny kind of mischievous side. And he
Yeah.
once told me how he likes Canadian hockey, and the thing he likes most about it is when the players get in a fight. And then he literally in front of me reenacted an imagined hockey fight, boxing a phantom opponent, and he just had me on the floor laughing.
Oh wow. Okay, so anyway, thank you for sharing about that. And it's amazing because I also saw your performance. I think that was in Las Vegas, and you were singing together. That was amazing, and it's just such a joy to see that you actually appreciate him. And as you mentioned, he's very humble, and I know that we know that he appreciates you so much because he loves your music. And just imagine that you both actually did a duet, so that's incredible. Okay, and Filipinos are just so romantic, and we love music so much. But aside, of course, from Manny, you also sang with a bunch of talented singers here in the country while touring. Do you have a favorite duet or performance that you did with a Filipino singer?
Um, Gosh, there's been so many. It's a bit of a blur. One thing I will say is I realize that singing, the art of singing, is highly valued and honored in the Philippines, perhaps more in the Philippines than anywhere else. And say even if you're just an amateur singer with another job, say you're an engineer or something, if you have a really, really good singing voice, people really, really respect and admire you for that. On a professional level, I would have to say the Filipina singers that I've sung with are the best in the world. Absolutely extraordinary. And the musicians, absolutely extraordinary again. I love working with the musicians from the Philippines.
Yeah, and I've watched your performances like with on like a TV show. It's like a Sunday noontime show, and yeah, of course, we're just so happy that you have this kind of connection with the Philippines and with the musicians here in the Philippines. And I'm sure your Filipino fans will be thrilled to know that you are back with a new and upcoming album, which is set to be released next year. But your single, which you mentioned a while ago, what about Black Lives, will be released this November, or is it already released? So can you tell
I
us
think
more about this?
uh, but it already has been leaked to the media. And there's been a lot, a lot of the big TV stations in Canada have already, kind of scooped and featured the song, which has kind of created a bit of an uproar here because the song does talk about the racial divide that has plagued, our world, and in particular Canada and the United States for 400 years. I wrote it after George Floyd was murdered, and I am biracial, and I had a lot of experiences that were racist and very uncomfortable growing up, and so a lot of people asked me to address on Facebook what I felt was going on in terms of the racial divide, and I kind of felt like I had you know, a, a responsibility to lend my voice to this cause. But I believe that the best way that I could make my mark on this cause, my most impactful way, would be to write, sing, and record a song about it. That it would be much more valuable than me sort of, talking spontaneously about it or writing about it. I was afraid that I would come off too sort of pompous and judgmental, whereas I was very careful in writing and performing what about Black lives, to not be judgmental at all. It was almost like, even with the title, I was asking a question,
Mhm.
trying to connect with everybody, asking that question about what is going on here.
Yeah, and of course, this is such a great song, and I mean, this has such a great cause, and we all know that this year, the Black Lives Matter movement in the
Mhm.
U.S. in North America, it's been really it became such an issue, and a lot of people were affected, but a lot of eyes were also opened, and a lot of people were actually so influenced by this, and it's such an amazing thing what you're doing, that you release a song, and what better way to send the message not only to the US, to Canada, but to the whole world about this. And we're just so excited to let the people here in the Philippines hear this song, What About Black Lives? And yeah, we're so happy for you. Okay, so Dan, what about for the other songs from the album? Of course, I'm sure you can't say anything yet, but yeah,
Oh
maybe a
yeah, I can.
teaser.
Yeah.
There are
Well,
14
I can.
songs, right?
Yeah, I can talk a lot about it. A lot of the songs, there's one song that really, really addresses uh, COVID, but in a way that is not absolutely direct, but totally kind of refers to the trauma that we're all going through. At the same time, I try to address the political, disconnection, the social and emotional disconnection that is in particular plaguing America and driving so many people so far apart. And so I wrote this, and then I dovetail into the chorus, which goes from talking about conflict and even hurt and pain and alienation, and then the chorus kind of spins into a really, really positive message. So it goes sort of from darkness and conflict, and then resolves into this shimmering light of optimism and positivity. And then it ends up saying at the end of the chorus, there is light on the other side of here, which is how I came up with, of course, the album title. There's another song kind of about the same thing, but different, sort of about going through personal self-hatred, and not loving yourself in the verses. And then in the chorus, it goes into rise, you're greater than you realize, and again, kind of resolves into a very, strong, moving, self-affirm, self-love, really, self-compassion. A
Okay.
lot of my album is kind of dealing with trying to love yourself and trying to rise out of the darkness and the conflict and again the self-hatred that so many of us, and the loneliness that so many of us go through. I mean, we all go through that to a certain degree. So how do we face up to that, and how do we rise through that? And I've addressed that theme over the first time, really, so definitively. I've addressed this on this album, which is actually the most personal yet universal album I've ever made.
Oh wow. We're very excited for this album and for the music, the new music that's coming up. And as you mentioned, it's very personal. It also deals with a lot of like rising up from let's say darkness, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to be dealing with, or you're going to be talking about uh discrimination, like for the what about Black lives, and then for COVID, which we all faced during this year. And yeah, so we're just so excited, and I know it's going to be very inspiring to a lot of people. This will impact so many people around the world. And yeah, congratulations on this upcoming project, and we're so excited to hear these new songs from you. So to say, you've done so much in your career, and has been releasing so many successful hits. And I would just like to know, is there still a wish for your career and a goal that you would like to accomplish?
I'm just hoping that my songs can touch and heal people. That's what I want to do. There's another song I have called Forgiveness, and it kind of goes into the importance of not judging other people, even if you don't agree with their point of view. Suspend judgment, and to forgive others, and to forgive yourself. Because if you hold grudges and are non-forgiving, that becomes toxic. It's like acid burning up your heart. So I talk a lot about the forgiveness of other people, of myself, and then ultimately finding redemption.
Okay. So this is also part of the new album, right?
Yes, it's called Forgiveness, that song. Yeah.
Okay, forgiveness. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for sharing about that, and we are very much looking forward to hear that. And of course, as you mentioned, you would like to heal people, to influence people, to inspire a lot of people with your music, and you've been doing that for so many years. And right now, with your new music, that's just I'm sure that will happen as well. Okay. So anyway, as we all know, you're very iconic. You're how we consider like a legendary singer in the music industry around the world. Everyone knows you. Do you have like a message for the young generation of artists in this music industry right now? What is a good advice that you would like to give them?
Well, one thing is, I call it, almost like practicing self-perfection. That it's very, very, very important to practice and to play and to sing and to write constantly. That's the path to improvement for all of us. It's just like, say, running. As you run more, your body has this beautifully natural way of adapting so that it continues to run further. And the same goes with singing. Singing, the big part of singing is breathing, much like it is to life. When we get anxious, sometimes our breathing gets very shallow and stuttered, and we have to teach ourselves to breathe smoothly through it and to take deep breaths. And when you're singing, you have to be very conscious of taking deep breaths in between the vocal phrases so that your voice is strong and fluid. Words too, the more you work on words, it's like magic. The quicker they kind of tumble out of you. And just even, I started playing classical guitar when I was 7. And, I found out at a very young age the absolute necessity of practice. So you have to really, if you want to be a singer and a famous singer, you have to absolutely embrace the craft and honor it. And then it will embrace and honor you.
Wow, that's such a great message for all the young musicians and artists at this time, and yeah, that's very inspiring. Okay, so Dan, finally, what is your message to all your fans, especially to all your Filipino fans who has supported you for so many years now, and any promises for them?
Well, first promise is I will absolutely be back, and I will be playing, an entire range of songs, dipping consistently into my past hits, but at the same time, exposing them to new songs that continue to explore growth and self-realization. And as I've already told you, there's no place I love performing more than in the Philippines.
Wow. Okay. So anyway, we are so looking forward to it. I mean, after this pandemic, I'm sure we're going to be seeing you here again very soon to perform with your old hits and your new hits. Okay. That is
Yes.
a great, all right. That is a great message, Dan. Thank you so much. Before we end, Dan, we are doing something special. Our guests, we always do this with our guests. I'm not sure if you've done this before, but this is called the Star Fast Talk. Okay. So I will be asking you some questions, and you have to answer them fast. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's begin. Your favorite singer of all time?
I would have to say um, Ella Fitzgerald.
Hmm. Favorite film?
Um, I would have to say The Graduate,
Okay. A dream
which came
col-
out, I think, in
Yeah.
'68, so far before your time. With
Yeah,
Dustin Hoffman.
but I think I've heard it before. I love classics. A
Oh,
dream,
good.
yeah, a dream collaboration you would love to do soon.
Uh, well, I know that Stevie Wonder's put out a new album, and I've since my teenage years have been a huge fan of Stevie Wonder. So yeah, it would be a dream collaboration to work with him.
Wow, we are looking forward to that. Okay, a song you wish you had written.
Imagine by John Lennon.
Wow, great song. Favorite song that you've written for a fellow singer.
I would have to say Seduces Me for Celine Dion.
Yeah, and I know that album actually won the Grammy, right?
Yes.
Which you co-produced. Oh, amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
a young singer you admire right now.
Uh, Taylor Swift.
Wow, Taylor Swift. So I feel like I would like to see a collaboration with Taylor Swift. Have you met her?
No, I have not.
But you know, if she hears this, she would go like, Daniel. She would be very excited.
Oh,
Okay.
you're so kind.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, I'm so excited for that. What is the greatest music genre of all time?
I would have to say R&B.
Okay. A music genre that you'd never got into but would love to try.
Jazz.
Jazz. Okay. A country you have never visited but would love to perform in soon.
Oh, very good question. I would have to say actually Australia. I had been booked to tour there a couple of times, and then things happened, and I wasn't able to make it.
Okay, so we are looking forward to your Australian tour very soon, which I know will happen after this pandemic. Okay.
Right.
Describe Dan Hill in 3 words.
Um, Compassionate, kind, and highly intuitive. So sorry, that was 4 words. Compassionate, kind, and intuitive.
Okay, compassionate, kind, and intuitive. Okay, wow. All right, Dan, thank you so much. And of course, we are so happy to have you on the show. And we can't wait to see you soon here in the Philippines, especially here in Baguio City, which is our city. And yeah, we are truly honored and grateful to have you on the show. And thank you for sharing your story, of course, for giving inspiration on this episode. Stay safe and have a great night in Canada.
Thank you, Gabby. Such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Okay, Star Nation. That was Star FM exclusive with Dan Hill. What an icon, truly a legend, and we can't wait to see him next, or we can't wait to see him on his next visit here in the Philippines. Truly amazing. Okay, so anyway, Star Nation, if you haven't yet, do like our Facebook page. That's 89.5 Star FM Baguio Dash Philippines, and of course, you can also follow us on Instagram. That's Star FM 895. You can also follow us on Twitter. That's Star FM Baguio. Once again, this is Star FM exclusive with Dan Hill, and you're with Star DJ Gabby. Take care.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Such a pleasure.